My dear friend, stop for a second, because something unusual is unfolding around your future. And if you keep listening closely, you may begin to recognize a presence that has been moving toward you far longer than you realize. Not everyone who enters your life is meant to stay, but someone has already imagined forever with you. And no, this is not about temporary attention, not about empty promises whispered during lonely nights. This is different. There is a soul quietly preparing themselves for permanence. A person who no longer sees love as a game, but as a home they are desperate to protect. And strangely enough, your name keeps returning to their heart like a song they cannot turn off. Pause here for a moment. Have you noticed how certain encounters lately feel heavier than coincidence? How certain conversations linger in your mind long after they end? How one particular energy keeps circling back into your life even when you try focusing elsewhere? That is not random. Because while you have been questioning your path, someone else has been questioning whether they are finally ready to step fully into yours. They are not perfect. In fact, the reason they move carefully is because life once taught them what happens when love is rushed. They know what betrayal feels like. They know what silence feels like, and because of that, they no longer chase temporary emotions. They want certainty now, and somehow, every road keeps leading them back to you. The person ready to place a wedding ring on your finger is not the loudest voice around you, not the one constantly demanding attention, not the one trying to impress everyone in the room. This person watches quietly. They notice the little things about you that others overlook. The way your energy changes when you are tired. The way you pretend to be okay when your heart feels heavy. The way your kindness survives even after disappointment. And that is exactly what scares them. Because for the first time in a long time, they see someone worth risking their future for. Comment 111. If this message feels deeply familiar, this person has been changing, slowly, silently, almost invisibly. They have started thinking about stability instead of escape, about commitment instead of distraction, about building instead of running. And the strange part, you inspired that transformation without even realizing it. There is a reason your spirit has felt restless recently, a reason certain dreams feel unusually vivid, a reason your intuition keeps whispering that something major is approaching. Because somewhere tonight, someone is imagining your hand inside theirs while thinking about vows they have never spoken out loud before. And they are closer than you think. The identity of this person may surprise you, because this connection does not look the way ordinary stories look. This is someone who understands loneliness deeply, someone who learned to hide emotions behind strength, someone who appears calm on the outside while carrying oceans internally. People around them may never notice it, but you would, because your soul recognizes depth even when words are missing. And this is why they feel magnetically drawn toward you, not because of perfection, not because of status, not because of appearance alone, but because your energy feels safe to them in a world that often feels emotionally cold. Think about that carefully. What if the person meant to love you forever is already somewhere near your reality, trying to gather the courage to reveal what they truly feel? What if the delays were never rejection, only preparation? And what if this next chapter arrives the moment you stop believing love has forgotten your address? There is another detail you must hear before this part ends. This person has likely been observing your growth from a distance for longer than you realize. They have seen your resilience, your healing, your quiet battles, and instead of being intimidated by your strength, they admire it. That admiration is becoming something much deeper now, something serious, something permanent. Because while others only saw pieces of you, this person began seeing the future, a home, a partnership, a life built slowly and honestly, a ring not worn for appearance, but for devotion. And the moment they finally speak what has been hidden inside them, everything around your emotional world may begin shifting faster than expected, but the biggest revelation has not even arrived yet. Because somewhere tonight, this person is beginning to realize something impossible to ignore. They are no longer imagining love casually. They are imagining permanence, And strangely, every future thought keeps leading back to you. Comment 222 if your intuition feels something changing already. A strange shift is happening already. Can you feel it? Not around the world, not around everyone else. Around you. Something about your energy has started attracting deeper attention lately, and the person connected to your future can no longer ignore it, no matter how hard they try to appear composed. They thought time would calm these feelings. They believed distance would make the connection fade. But instead, every passing day only made your presence louder inside their heart. And here is the part nobody warned them about. The more they tried focusing on ordinary life, the more signs of you appeared everywhere. A song with lyrics that sounded like your story. A random memory arriving in the middle of the night. A feeling they could not explain while staring at the ceiling long after everyone else had fallen asleep. You are becoming impossible for them to silence internally. And that changes everything. This is no longer simple attraction. It is becoming realization. Comment 333 if someone has been appearing in your thoughts constantly lately. This person is beginning to recognize that every relationship before you felt incomplete in some invisible way. Not necessarily painful, not necessarily wrong, just unfinished. Like conversations missing their final sentence. But you feel different to them. Your energy creates calm inside their chaos. Your presence slows their racing thoughts. Even your silence feels meaningful to them. And that kind of connection is rare in a world filled with temporary attention. That is why the idea of commitment no longer scares them the way it once did. In fact, the thought of losing you scares them more, and that fear is quietly transforming into determination. Do you understand what that means? Someone who once avoided emotional risk is now imagining how to protect a future with you instead of avoiding one altogether. That is not ordinary. That is destiny beginning to move. The person ready to place that wedding ring on your finger carries an energy that feels strangely familiar to you. Not loud familiarity, not instant comfort in a shallow way. It feels like recognition. Like your spirit relaxes around them without fully understanding why. Conversations with them may feel longer than they actually are. Eye contact may feel unusually intense. Even small moments may leave emotional echoes afterward. And the reason is simple. This connection was never meant to remain surface level. It was designed to awaken something inside both of you. Not every delay means denial. Sometimes life stretches time because two people are still becoming who they need to be before destiny finally allows their paths to fully merge. That is exactly what has been happening here. While you were healing, they were learning maturity. While you were rebuilding confidence, they were learning emotional honesty. While you wondered if real love still existed, they were slowly becoming capable of offering it truthfully. Nothing was wasted. Not the waiting. Not the confusion. Not even the loneliness. Every chapter was shaping this moment, and now something inside them is reaching a breaking point emotionally because they are tired of imagining a future with you silently. They want something real now. Something visible, something undeniable, something lasting enough to survive difficult seasons instead of collapsing during them. That is why marriage has entered their thoughts so seriously lately, not fantasy, not obsession, intention. There is a difference. And strangely, they may not even realize how obvious their feelings are becoming to people around them. Someone close to them has already noticed the shift, the softer tone in their voice. When your name appears, the distant expression they get while thinking about you. The way their energy changes after speaking with you or hearing news about you. Love leaves traces even when hidden. And this hidden love is becoming harder for them to carry quietly. Your intuition has felt unusually active recently for a reason. Your spirit already senses movement before your eyes can confirm it. That sudden urge to reflect on your future, that emotional pull toward deeper connection, instead of temporary distractions. That strange feeling that your life is preparing for emotional change. None of it is random. Your energy is aligning with someone who is finally ready to stop running from what they feel. And when they come forward fully, It will not sound rehearsed or artificial. It will sound honest, possibly nervous, possibly emotional, possibly imperfect, but real. Because the person connected to your future no longer wants half connections, hidden feelings, or unfinished stories. They want certainty with you, and somewhere inside themselves. They have already started imagining what your last name beside theirs would look like. The biggest clue about who this person is has nothing to do with appearance, status, or charm. It is the way they make you feel seen, not admired from a distance, seen deeply. As though they notice the version of you that the world often misses. And when someone sees your soul clearly, commitment stops feeling frightening. It starts feeling inevitable. Comment 555 if this message feels strangely connected to your current situation. There is something this person has never admitted out loud. And once you hear it, the entire connection may suddenly make sense. They almost walked away from this destiny, not because they did not care, not because the feelings were weak, but because the intensity of what they felt for you frightened them in ways they could not explain. Some people fear losing love, but others fear finding a love so real that it changes the direction of their entire life. And that is exactly what happened to them. The moment your energy entered their world, something inside them started shifting beyond control. Priorities changed, thought patterns changed. Even the vision they once had for their future began rearranging itself quietly around your presence. At first, they resisted it. They tried convincing themselves it was temporary, a phase, a passing emotional storm. But every attempt to emotionally distance themselves only made the connection stronger. Because what they feel for you was never shallow enough to disappear easily. Comment 777. If you feel someone has been fighting their feelings for you silently, have you ever felt someone pulling away while somehow becoming emotionally closer at the same time? That confusion was not imagined. This person has been fighting an internal battle between fear and certainty for longer than you realize. One side of them whispered, "Protect your heart. Stay guarded. Do not become vulnerable again." But another voice, quieter, deeper, impossible to silence, kept repeating your name internally, like a future waiting to happen. And eventually, that deeper voice began winning. Because love built on recognition cannot remain hidden forever. Recent emotional tension around this connection has felt unusually powerful for a reason. There was an obstacle, not necessarily another person, not necessarily distance. The real obstacle was timing. You met during a season where both of you still carried invisible emotional weight from the past. Old disappointments, old fears, old doubts about whether genuine loyalty still existed, and those emotional scars created hesitation. But something extraordinary happened quietly behind the scenes. Instead of destroying the connection, the separation strengthened it. Every moment apart forced deeper realization. Every silence created more clarity. Every missed opportunity made them understand your value more intensely. Now they are beginning to see something they once avoided seeing clearly. Nobody else feels like home the way you do. That realization changes a person permanently. Because once someone emotionally recognizes where their soul feels safest, ordinary connection stops satisfying them. And that is why this person has started imagining a future they once thought they were not ready for. A wedding. A promise. A shared life built slowly over time. Peace instead of emotional confusion. The moment they truly understood they wanted forever with you was not during some dramatic scene. It happened quietly. A small interaction, a memory, a sentence you may not even remember saying. Something about that moment revealed your heart to them so clearly that they suddenly realized, this is the person I could spend my entire life beside. Not because you are flawless, not because life would always be easy, but because your spirit feels genuine in a world filled with masks. That authenticity reached them deeply, and now they cannot return to pretending the connection means less than it does. This person has recently started thinking about stability in ways they never did before. They are becoming more serious about their future, more intentional with decisions, more protective of their emotional energy. Why? Because when someone begins envisioning marriage, their mindset changes. Temporary excitement loses its appeal. Emotional games become exhausting. Surface level connection no longer feels satisfying. And your name keeps appearing at the center of those thoughts. There is also something you need to know about the way they see you now. They no longer view you as someone interesting. That stage is over. They see you as someone irreplaceable. That is a completely different level of emotion. Irreplaceable means your absence affects them deeply. It means comparisons no longer work because nobody carries your exact energy. It means even when they try focusing elsewhere, something inside them keeps returning to you. That emotional pull is becoming impossible for them to ignore now. And honestly, the closer they move toward accepting these feelings fully, the more obvious their intentions will become. You will notice it in the way they communicate, the way they protect the connection, the way they begin speaking about the future differently. Because deep inside themselves, they are already preparing emotionally for commitment. The ring itself is not the real symbol here. The real symbol is readiness. Readiness to stop running, readiness to trust love again, readiness to choose one person completely, instead of living half attached to temporary experiences. And the person approaching this realization is approaching you too, very slowly, very intentionally, but more seriously than you can currently see. Comment 999 if you feel someone is finally becoming emotionally ready for you. Because somewhere ahead, a moment is waiting where hidden feelings finally become spoken truth. And when that moment arrives, you may finally understand why every delay, every confusion, and every emotional twist had to happen exactly the way it did. Something is about to become impossible to hide now. And once this shift fully begins, even the people around you may start noticing the energy between you and this person. Because love that reaches the level of destiny eventually changes the atmosphere around it. Not loudly, not dramatically, but undeniably. The person who once tried to control their emotions around you is beginning to lose that ability little by little. Their eyes reveal too much now. Their silence reveals too much now. Even the smallest interaction with you leaves a visible impact on their energy afterward. That is what happens when someone's heart quietly chooses forever before their mind fully catches up. Certain emotional doors in your life began closing recently for a reason. Some connections had to fade away first. Not because you failed, not because you were unworthy, but because your future cannot fully arrive while your energy remains attached to people who only offer temporary attention. And somewhere deep inside, this person has started sensing that too. They no longer want to almost have you. They no longer want confusion, distance, or emotional guessing games. They want clarity. The kind of clarity that says, this is my person. This is where I belong. This is who I want beside me years from now. That realization is growing stronger inside them every single day. There is something else they have never fully admitted to anyone. They have imagined moments with you that they keep private inside their heart. Not fantasy in a shallow sense, something deeper. They have imagined introducing you proudly instead of hiding emotions privately. They have imagined building routines with you. Quiet mornings, long conversations after difficult days. A future where both of you stop surviving emotionally and finally start living peacefully. And strangely, the image that returns to them most often is not some dramatic scene. It is simple, your hand in theirs, a ring catching light for a brief second, a feeling of certainty they spent years searching for in the wrong places. That image keeps returning to them because their heart already recognizes where it wants to stay. Your connection with this person has entered a new phase energetically. The fear is weakening, the hesitation is cracking, and the truth is becoming louder than avoidance. That is why you may suddenly notice unexpected changes soon. More communication, more honesty, more emotional openness than before. Because the closer someone moves toward commitment, the harder it becomes to pretend they feel nothing. And this person feels everything. The reason they are ready for marriage now is not because life suddenly became perfect. It is because you changed the way they define love. You showed them that connection can feel calm instead of chaotic, safe instead of confusing, deep instead of temporary. That realization healed something inside them they thought would remain broken forever. And once a person experiences that kind of emotional peace, they stop searching everywhere else. They begin protecting the connection that gave it to them. Recently, they experienced a moment of emotional clarity, maybe while alone. Maybe during a difficult day. Maybe after realizing how quickly time moves. But suddenly, a realization hit them hard. If I stay silent too long, I could lose the person meant for me. That thought changed everything. Because for the first time, the possibility of losing you became more painful than the fear of vulnerability itself. And that is the exact moment commitment stopped feeling distant. Now their heart is no longer asking, "What if this fails?" Instead, it is asking, "What if this is the love I was meant to protect all along?" That question has been echoing inside them ever since. And yes, they are still nervous, not because the feelings are weak, because they are real. Real feelings carry weight. Real intentions create vulnerability. Real love changes people permanently. That is why this next chapter will feel different from anything before it. Not rushed, not performative, intentional. If this message has been speaking to something deep inside your spirit, take a quiet moment afterward and notice which part felt strangely familiar. Sometimes the heart recognizes truth before the mind fully understands it. And if this journey resonates with you, leave a short comment or a number below. Comment 333 if you believe someone is preparing to choose you fully. There is one final thing you must hear before this part ends. The person ready to place a wedding ring on your finger is not arriving to complete you. They are arriving ready to build with you 2 lives. 2 healed hearts. 2 people finally tired of temporary love. And somewhere very soon, a conversation, a confession, or a moment neither of you expected may begin opening the door toward the future both of you secretly hoped still existed. But the final revelation has not arrived yet. The final shift has already started, quietly, slowly, but permanently. And the person connected to your future can feel it now more strongly than ever before. Something inside them no longer wants to hide behind fear, timing, or emotional distance. For too long they convinced themselves they could manage these feelings silently, that they could continue carrying your name privately inside their heart, without changing anything outwardly. But love reaches a point where silence becomes heavier than truth, and they are reaching that point now. There is a reason your intuition has been unusually active lately. A reason certain thoughts about love, commitment, and the future keep returning unexpectedly. Your spirit senses movement before your eyes can confirm it, because somewhere behind the scenes, this person has already started preparing emotionally for a life that includes you, not casually, not temporarily. Seriously, they have started imagining what it would feel like to wake up beside the same person years from now and still feel peace instead of uncertainty. And every time they imagine that future, your presence remains there naturally. That is how they finally understood the difference between attachment and destiny. Attachment creates confusion. Destiny creates clarity. And little by little, clarity is taking over their heart. The most powerful part is this. They no longer feel proud of hiding emotions. They no longer feel strong, pretending they do not care deeply. In fact, the distance between what they feel and what they express has started exhausting them emotionally. Because when someone truly sees forever with another person, silence begins feeling unnatural. That is why this next chapter will not stay hidden much longer. Something inside them is pushing toward honesty now, toward visible action, toward real commitment. They are beginning to understand that love is not proven through private feelings alone. It is proven through courage, through consistency, through showing up fully, instead of halfway. And you may notice this transformation sooner than expected. The way they look at you may change. The way they speak about the future may change. Even the way they protect the connection may become more intentional, because internally, They are no longer thinking only about emotions. They are thinking about permanence. Comment 555. If you believe real love should lead to clarity, not confusion. There is another truth they have not admitted openly yet. They have already imagined the exact moment they finally tell you everything, not perfectly, not like a movie scene, but honestly, maybe with nervousness in their voice. Maybe with emotions they cannot fully control, but truthfully. Because after all the delays, all the inner battles, and all the emotional hesitation, they are finally understanding something life kept trying to teach them. Real love does not appear often, and when it does, protecting it matters more than protecting fear. That realization changed them deeply. The person who once avoided emotional vulnerability is now becoming willing to risk everything for one real connection. That is not a small transformation. That is the kind of emotional shift that changes the direction of an entire life. And strangely enough, the closer they move toward this decision, the calmer they feel internally. Not because fear disappeared completely, but because certainty became stronger than fear. There is a difference. Fear says, protect yourself. Certainty says, this person is worth the risk, and your energy keeps pulling them toward certainty. You may have noticed signs already without fully understanding them at the time. Moments where their attention lingered longer than expected. Moments where emotions appeared in their eyes before words ever arrived. Moments where silence between both of you somehow felt louder than conversation. None of those moments were meaningless. They were emotional cracks forming inside the walls they built around their heart. And now those walls are weakening more every day. The future connected to this love does not feel rushed. That is important, because rushed love often burns brightly and disappears quickly. But this connection feels slower, steadier, more intentional, like two souls gradually moving toward the same destination after years of learning painful lessons separately. That is why this story feels deeper than ordinary attraction. It carries emotional maturity, healing, recognition, and the desire to build something lasting instead of temporary. The person connected to your future no longer wants half love, half honesty, half commitment. They want a real partnership, a real home, a real future. And somewhere inside themselves, they have already stopped asking whether they love you. Now they are asking how to build a life that protects the love they feel. That question, because once someone begins thinking like that, action eventually follows very soon. Something visible may happen between you, a conversation, a confession, a moment of unexpected honesty, something that finally confirms what your intuition has been sensing for a long time now. And when it happens, you may suddenly realize why nothing else ever felt complete before this connection entered your life. Because some people enter your world to teach lessons, but others enter your world to stay. Before this message ends, hold on to this final truth carefully. The person ready to place a wedding ring on your finger is not arriving to rescue you from loneliness. They are arriving after learning their own lessons about love, fear, healing, and emotional truth. And now, after all the delays and emotional battles, they are finally becoming brave enough to choose what their heart has known for a very long time. Thank you for staying until the end. If this message resonated with your spirit, leave a short comment or number below, subscribe, and stay connected for more messages like this. Sometimes the heart recognizes its future long before life makes it visible.